Good morning, friends. Much love to you. Had a really powerful, heart-opening, life-changing experience. I'm just super thankful, honored to be alive and connected to so many amazing people. I chase live music as a means to heal my being, my body, and I just I get to spend a lot of time alone and process, my dreams and review my life. I recapitulate a lot, and I'm having a lot of really amazing feelings that were dormant become accessible. Amazing memories, challenging memories, but they end up being like equal as far as like when they are revealed to you. The challenging ones are just as powerful as the beautiful ones, in that they're all necessary, and they're like code, and you learn to sort of just understand the necessity for each stage of your existence and all the challenges. So with this heart opening came even more difficult things to work through, because when you realize how incredible you can feel, then you realize the areas in which you're still unresolved, or bitter or resentful, or whatever aspects of dysfunction are still kind of co-creating your storyline along with your intentions and your listening. So I've been talking a lot about that, the difference between listening and manifesting. And so that if we are in line with purpose, and we are of service, and we are following a thread, then there is a way to reach what we call a state of intent, because you're working with spirit directly rather than thinking you're alone in this process. And you start to just give yourself permission to feel on a deeper and deeper level what it is that you're in need of, or who to work with, or what groups to align with. And sometimes it's telling you to just be alone and to just feel your pain and to feel all the feelings that you've been avoiding. That's so intense and difficult to do, but it's very magical when you do learn how to go into your pain and stay there. It doesn't mean you stay there all the time, but you find a way to go into the depths. So a lot of people avoid what they think would be depression, and they try to stay out of it, and they medicate themselves away from it. And I will admit there are times when it's just too much. Like, I had a therapist once that lost her entire family all in one, including the child in her belly, because she was the only survivor in a car accident. And I would not know how to, I don't know how she would have gotten through that without sort of numbing for a period of time in order to eventually have the capacity just to face all that loss. And so she used medication. And so there might be a time and a place, in particular situations where, we go with what is available. And maybe there are natural medicines she could have used, right? That hopefully, maybe you guys know about, that are capable of shutting some feelings down for a period of time so that you can navigate life and survive in the meantime. So I'm just questioning, some of the extreme opinions on these things, but I don't believe that those medications actually work to the degree that they're so hard to get off of. So it's a really, really high risk thing to get into. But I just don't think things are black and white. So yeah, I'm just inside of a really beautiful transformation, and super thankful to be beginning a new course. Today, Sunday the 5th, we're starting here in an hour or two. My my first class for resilience, and then we do it on Tuesdays as well. A lot of really brand new people to this work have entered in this time, and so it's really, just really exciting to be helping people connect to these the shamanic dreaming arts and all that comes with that. It's a very abstract process. It's not like explained clearly because it's not meant to be. These are abstract, non-linear, non-ordinary reality type of perceptual intensities. A lot of what I've learned came from training with shamans for many years, and I used the Carlos Castaneda material as a means to sort of understand what I was going through, and would challenge my teachers based on what was written in those books. And even though they read the books as well, they were avoiding some of the more potent pieces to that knowledge. And so I've been inside of a really unique process of observing the way we as people block ourselves from certain understandings as a means to protect ourselves, really. But it's an ego-based wound in which we feel threatened by confronting knowledge. So again, knowledge is not information, it is power. And knowledge is terrifying because your shields come down. The more you feel the power of this realm and the power of your being, and you start to realize that you are more than what you were told, and that there's so much more to what we are capable of than we could even imagine. But that's where the power lies, is in our imagination, which isn't made up. Imagination is tapping into the magical side of communication and receiving beautiful guidance. So all inventions, all the things that have been unfolded have come from source through us. And so we are so fortunate to be conduits, or capable of becoming conduits. Most people are not. Most people are in a program of some sort. I mean, I am as well, but I've shed quite a few programs, as many of you have. But there's many more to go. And we're actually lucky to have those programs. Otherwise, we would be blasted into oblivion. We want to take our shields down carefully and strategically and in a loving way. I've met a lot of monsters who are into the Castaneda material, who are all about power, and on some level they're just, it's just a wound, right, that manifests into abuse of power or a need to put themselves above others in order to prove that they are of worth, because they have worth issues that got unresolved. So the real work is in the shadow work that leads to a path of heart. If you skip the shadow work, then you miss out on all the sadness that would balance your being so that you could have perceptual intensity without getting spun out and thinking that you were special. But it is unavoidable to go through stages of feeling really strong and amazing, and can appear as if you've become, overly confident or cocky. And I'm a novice in that process. I'm still learning to realize how far along I am and acknowledge the gains, because I've always sort of pretended that the things that have happened to me did not happen. Like, I just don't really keep an inventory of that stuff. I trust that it will build up, and over time I'll be able to be supported by those experiences. And then you learn to recapitulate and let them go, let memories come, and then release them, so that you're not carrying the weight of your story. You become light, which means you have to get really grounded, or you kind of float away, get spun out, end up with what they would call a mental illness, not being able to handle the world, not being able to relate to people whose perception is in the base reality structure system, the program. But that's kind of where what we call controlled folly or stalking comes in, is that you learn to go and be amongst all the programmed people without being offended and without needing to prove to them that you're outside of the programming. In fact, you present yourself as if you are in the same conditions that they are, so that they feel comfortable with you. And you know, I had to learn that the hard way, and going through some really intense stuff as a carpenter, landscaper, all the different things that I got into. You know, I was a freak. I was saying crazy shit. I was, you know, I couldn't have a normal conversation. I'd always try and take it into the abstract, and everyone's like, dude, the fuck are you talking about? But eventually I learned to interject abstract concepts very carefully to those that there'd be like a sign or an omen that certain people could receive certain pieces at certain stages. And that's my theory, is that everyone is a shamanic dreamer. It's just that the programs are so heavy that it's got to scratch the surface to get to those layers. So I'm not like thinking everyone's an NPC whatsoever. I think it's just heavy programming that's going to really take some time, and certain events are going to have to play out in order for people to realize how to get into these more authentic states of awareness. So it's a really, you know, unique transition that we're all experiencing and witnessing. You know, the psyops are getting more and more sloppy and obvious, and it just makes the door open for those people who are ready to start to come to terms with just how ridiculous all of it is, which is really hilarious. Like, it's really fun to watch, and we're meant to enjoy our time here. And that's what the Toltec's focus was, is to, you know, do the work, but enjoy yourself immensely and make fun of yourself and laugh and become jovial and liberated, and just really make each day an opportunity to celebrate your existence. If you're not capable of celebrating at this moment, and I don't mean with drugs or anything, just, you know, doing things that will put you in contact with Source so you can say thank you in a meaningful way. And that can be done from anywhere. We're not separate from nature. Don't care how much concrete or how many layers, you know, like a jail cell without windows. You're still with the mother. She'll totally even more likely come to you because you're in a situation in which you need her. But you could spend your entire life in prison without ever making connection to Source. Or you could, you know, on the first day realize that you're going to have to transition into a totally different way of perceiving yourself and everything, as a means to use prison or jail as a time to reflect and do life review and or study or whatever it is. You know, everyone's different. I'm not one to try to accumulate a bunch of information and read a bunch of books to understand the way this place operates. I think the Toltecs have it pretty figured out, and so I'm focused on tapping into that lineage. So when you do the shamanic dreaming arts, you're connecting to this ancient power in a very unique sort of, it's like a system that is revealed to you in a nonlinear way. So that's why I teach shamanic movement, is because it creates the ability to code or decode your being without it going through the intellect. We do want to be able to learn information and to be able to be highly functional in the realm of the intellect without getting isolated to the intellect. And so women have the capacity to feel on a level that men don't, which can make it really difficult to be in this realm, because this realm is running through the patriarch, which is intellectual based. And so a lot of women have moved into their masculine in order to survive and navigate the intensity of this place. And now they're being asked to remember and move back into their feeling centers and operate and make decisions from there. Which is amazing, because that is a sign that we're going to be able to return to the abstract and really honor emotion and feeling and sensitivities. Obviously, the empaths that get really spun out and can't handle the world, that's a difficult stage to go through. It's not necessary, but it's typical. The shamanic movements that I teach really make it possible to sort of navigate that without becoming so sensitive that you become dysfunctional. And so one of the trophies or the highlights or the reward of a shaman in this training is that they can go in and out of situations without getting drained, without being offended. They can do a 9-to-5 job, and you have to be creative. Like, if you're going to sit in a cubicle, you're going to have to really learn how to take care of yourself. And so, that might just look like going to the bathroom every hour and getting in the stall and let people think whatever they want, but you do a bunch of shamanic movement and come back and boom, you've got the juice to get through the next hour without getting drained. Or, I would just have one earbud in, listening to like really psychedelic music that just keeps me in that other layer of the onion, but I can still, listen to everybody and split my perception. And then, you'd be amazed at conversations that the people start to recognize that you have a different perspective. You can start to introduce yourself slowly, and the people that are meant to meet you or have talks with you will start to open up and ask questions. And it can get tricky, you gotta still listen as to how to navigate that, because if one person starts to get really altered by what you're saying, then it could be it can create a little bit of a question around. People can get afraid of you a little bit if you show them the simplicity of things. Simplicity is confronting the basics are avoided. Everybody is complex. Their egos are complex. And so we want to find a way to really reclaim our innocence and our youth and move back into like the realm of expressing our creative selves through from a place of what I call pure affection. Because before the sexual, I've talked about how the forces that rule this realm run us through our genitals, and that it's very difficult to not be obsessed or focused on sex. At a certain point in your youth, you start to feel feelings that are really strong, and then that pure affection can get lost, especially if like porn and things are introduced at an early age. And I was super fortunate to dodge all that, and I found the Castaneda material when I was 16. I became celibate when I was 17. I spent an entire year without having any sexual thoughts because I was so focused on that work. And it explained in that body of knowledge that you either use your sexual energy for dreaming or you use it for sex. And it's kind of an extreme thing to say. It turns out that's not necessarily the case. You can do both. If you read on, it explains there are people who were capable of reaching their energy body even as highly sexual people. But for a lot of people, there's a period of time where celibacy is pretty key. And then, yeah, your dreaming is definitely going to shift, and the semen retention is very powerful. It's very helpful to, gain confidence, to feel attractive, to shift your perception of yourself, which is how people see you is how you see yourself. But there's people that are never going to see you. They're never going to notice you as anything other than whatever physical features you have. I get a lot of comments about not having hair and how hard that must be. And people are judging and reflecting and in fear of certain physical issues or whatever. And so it's just awesome. Actually, it's a perfect gift to receive, like, for me, losing my hair is probably the best thing that ever happened to me. And not at the time it was happening, but ultimately it allowed me to discover my inner beauty, which then I was able to then sort of, through a really ugly, intense process of transformation, I was able to become no longer needed to be validated by people or seen in a certain light in order to step into my power and to be in gratitude for my life. And so there are these things that may seem too much, too intense, and too painful are often the catalysts that will free us from the programming, the ego, and move into a much more authentic appreciation. And I was also fortunate to discover the difference between being attracted to like just pretty women versus like really energetically aware, conscious women. And so there were stages where I just retreated and went into just chasing. I'm not saying I didn't, have any experiences outside of this, but for the most part, I was very sort of strategic and listening and following a thread of intention that allowed me to meet and experience amazing people. And my girlfriend died at a young age when she was 19, and we had a very unique soul connection, and she's been very supportive in my life, and is very much a big part of what I'm doing here and offering. Is I'm not just listening to source. I'm supported by helpers and in my dreams, different beings that come from other layers of the onion that are very unique, very joyous beings, very powerful beings. Old school Toltecs would cross the wall of fog in order to go into these other worlds, and they would intend to gain a helper on the other side that would assist them in this layer. That's all real stuff, and it's really dangerous, but it's just the way sorcery operates. But there's some of us who are fortunate to not have to do that and receive help in other ways. So I'm just super thankful, filled with gratitude and appreciation for all the amazing people that are coming into this training with me. That Kelly Brogan interview just really blew up for me because there's so many new amazing women mostly who listen to Kelly Brogan that are coming into this training, and been just meeting with so many magical people every day almost. So thank you for your support, and appreciate the opportunity to learn from all of you as the anchor into this training. I'm learning more than you are. And I go through all this crazy intensity in order to be able to hold space for what it is that I'm offering. So there's a ton of emotional healing coming for all of you. If you haven't had a lot, it's different to be overly emotional than to have like beautifully emotional healing experiences. So you learn how to not get lost in emotion, but you learn how to navigate it and learn how to surf it. And so yeah, there's still total opportunity to sign up. We do Sundays and Tuesdays, Sundays at noon, Tuesdays at 6 p.m., and that's Mountain Time. I'm in Montana land. It's so powerful here. But yeah, I was on the East Coast for music over the holidays, and I met amazing people. I really enjoy traveling alone, and I got to drive up and down the coast there, and there's adventures to be had, and when you're listening and you're following threads, then the guidance that presents as to how and when to leave the hotel, and it all starts to flow. And when you learn to be at peace with your aloneness, then you can learn to recapitulate. And get up in the middle of the night and do the shamanic movements and move your perception into really strange and dynamic states. Much love to all of you. Reach out if you feel called to train in this work at any point, whether it's one-on-one or join this course called Resilience. It's going to be really strong. They all are, but it just gets stronger as we go, So a lot of veterans to this work that have been doing this since the beginning are really incredible people, and so you'll get the benefit of getting to know them. And there's a Telegram group, and we all communicate through there as well. So I hope to see you if you feel called, and no pressure whenever. Just follow your instincts. Thank you. Be well.